Welcome to InFocus with Eden Lane.
Now we'll bring you back to the night before this opening at the Arvada Center to see how this collection, this exhibit, came together. Well, it's kind of fun to get in here the night before this brand new exhibit opens at the Arvada Center. You've never invited us to come in the night before.
Well, welcome.
So I appreciate it. It's kind of fun to get this little sneak peek. And I know that it's going to be really packed in here tomorrow, so I appreciate you taking time. This exhibit is such a clever idea, collect. It's these various collections, corporate, organization, and private collections, right?
That is correct, yeah.
So how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I'm actually an artist myself, and I was picking up some art at 9.arts and loved working with them as an artist. And I was like, this would be a great organization to partner with. So we brought Catherine in and Molly and Martha and the rest of the team and kind of brainstormed different ideas of what we could do just to partner. And that's where it came about that we would do collect and an exhibition on corporate art collections. And from there, it kind of morphed into a much larger series that also featured, as you said, institutions and individual collections.
So sometimes that might mean these are pieces that we see in context in a corporate environment or a public space, but a lot of these are pieces that don't get seen by the public. How did 9.arts get connected in this way?
So we work with artists here in Colorado and also throughout the nation, and what we do is we work with corporations such as hospitals, law firms, hotels. We figure out what type of art they're looking for, and then we find the artist that best match or fits. Oh. So we had been talking with Colin for a project, and then the conversation just kind of evolved into more about what we do and what we know, and sharing that with people.
And what role did you play in this? Because I know that you're so often deeply involved in the exhibit from the beginning. So how did this come to you after they had had this discussion offsite?
Oh, well, and then once we brought them in, I was a part of that conversation as well, and just coming up with the idea, because we like to theme our exhibitions here in 3 different spaces, we had the corporation down, but then it was what do we do from there, and that's when the institutions and the individuals came into play, because those are really the 3 aspects of art collecting.
So what you normally do is place art in institutions. So how did you convince your institutions, your clients, to loan their art to the Arvada Center?
There wasn't much convincing needed.
Well, that's great news.
The corporations we work with fall in love with their art collections. It becomes a part of something they see every day, a part of their institution, and they love to share. They're very proud of the art collections they have, and it takes a lot of work to build a good collection. So I think that having the opportunity to show that to the public was something they were all very excited about.
I would say the hardest part about actually working with the corporations was choosing which pieces to borrow.
Yeah.
Because they have
because of the wealth
exactly.
of the collection.
And we were trying to get a good overview of not only the collections but of pieces that represent their collection. So if you notice, we have 3 law firms, a healthcare provider, an insurance provider, and a hospitality hotel. So
how did individuals become part of the exhibit? How did you approach them? How did you identify them?
That was tough because there are so many individuals that collect, but I think our goal with it was to find different kind of types of collectors. So artists as collectors, just arts advocates as collectors, just arts appreciation as collectors. Just
so they might have
different...
a message behind their collection in addition to being a fan of the art.
Exactly. And you have collectors like Polly and Mark Addison who've been collecting for 40, 50 plus years at a very high level, that have donated many pieces to a lot of great institutions throughout town. But then you have someone like Dana Kane, who she has parties over her house and collects a lot of local emerging artists, but that's her passion. So it's like we try to just have this very rounded example of all the different collectors, and that was the biggest challenge. It's over 17 collections that we're featuring, and I think that's the unique and the challenges with this is, I think 9.Art said it best, was instead of focusing on 1 or 2 collections like we could have, we decided let's have a broad spectrum of, not too many, but just enough to really showcase what's out there and why people collect.
And it speaks to the idea that art isn't simply decor for these institutions, these corporations, and obviously for these individuals. It is an appreciation of art, which is why they want to share it. They're not just collecting art intelligently as art lovers, but they're collecting as part of their own narrative as an organization.
So I think if you read some of the stories that are on the wall, but even when you just walk into the galleries, you'll get a sense of who these collectors are very quickly just by looking at the art on the wall. And that's really how we designed the space, so that you can just walk in and instantly feel like you're in a small version of their home or their office.
And I think that's the same with the institutional collections. We have in the upper gallery is you have Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center that they collect a wide variety of items, but predominantly Hispanic or Latin, but a lot of contemporary work. So
and maybe some art that was created there during the history of the Fine Arts
correct.
Center.
We have an artist who lives in Manitou Springs who just had a solo exhibition there. That's why they chose him.
Yeah.
But then we have someone like Kirkland Museum where their focus is Colorado artists, decorative art, and of course the Vance Kirkland pieces. So we have one of each kind
And of course there's Andy Warhol here too.
Well,
It's not a show without Andy.
well, and that's what was great about this exhibition is we were choosing the collections, and once the items started to be, here are the items that we would be willing to loan. Andy Warhol, Frank Stella, Diego Rivera, a lot of great artists that we're excited to show to our patrons.
And what that also does is it allows the artists that might not be as well known from Colorado to be exhibited in the same company of those artists.
It's right next to them,
Yeah.
in some cases, and that's what's exciting I'm a huge proponent of showing Colorado artists, but it's always nice to put that in context.
Right. I think it also says that, a lot of people think museums need to collect just Warhol or just Picasso, but they're showing right alongside these local Colorado artists that are creating just as interesting of work. So it shows that collecting can be whatever you want it to be.
Now we take you to opening night to get thoughts and reactions from some of the collectors. And we begin with the corporate collections.
Well, we worked with 9.Arts for our art program, and we have such a unique program with our partnership with the Metropolitan State University of Denver. So we were selected to showcase our artwork here today.
And that's a new property, so the collection is fairly new.
That's true. We opened in 2012, and all of our artwork is either a product of a student, faculty, or alumni of the Metropolitan State University of Denver.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's through the entire property?
Through the entire property, and we have over 600 pieces. There was a committee of folks that did help us to select which pieces. So I worked with 9.Arts to help select the pieces. So we were very excited for the ones. We wanted to have a cross-section of all the faculty, to have a piece from a faculty member, a student, and an alumni present here today. Really gives our guests a chance to connect with the local community and to get a feel for the art programs that the university has and also locally here in Denver. So it gives our guests a real experience when they come to the Spring Hill Suites.
What an amazing opportunity to have your corporate art collection featured in a new way. How did this happen for you?
Well, we've been working with 9.Arts, who's been helping us collect and buy the art for the new hospital, which opens this year on 12, 13, 14. And so this art you're seeing right now has never been shown before. In fact, it's the first night we've seen it since we've selected it, and we're excited about being able to have it as part of this collection. And all of these, of course, are Colorado artists, so we're proud of that too.
Beyond just having Colorado artists, how would you describe the collection for your hospital?
So we've got, obviously with healthcare, we need to have pieces that are uplifting, that are positive. We've got pieces here that are pieces of our tradition. St. Joe's being in Denver for 140 years last year. And we want people to be able to come by, because when you come to a hospital, there's a lot of stress. And we'd like to have the art collection be some place that you could stop and have a moment of peace, and maybe take you to a place that's more pastoral.
And it will speak to the people who work in the hospital as well.
Exactly. So we've got 2,500 associates, which is our word for employees. We've got 1,200 medical staff. Plus we have about 19,000 inpatients a year that will, and then 100,000 outpatients a year that will see this every day.
So it explains why so many of these pieces have a lot of exuberance to them. Is there one that's particularly a favorite of yours?
So I think the piece that's going to be over the information desk in the main lobby is a piece that links the new hospital, which opens this year, to the hospital that was built in 1900. Wow. So we're trying to take advantage of our tradition and show that 140 years is a long time, and we're proud of the past, and now we've got a hospital that'll be around for another 100 years.
Did you get to participate in selecting any of the pieces for the collection?
I did, actually. I was very actively involved in the art committee, and it's something I had great fun doing. That plus the sculpture that we've also got that will be in front of the hospital once it opens.
Next, we meet the representatives from the Clifford Still Museum and the Museo de las Americas. See a museum lend part of their collection to another gallery. How did that happen?
Well, Colin came to us asking if we would want to be part of this exhibition, and since we've only opened about 2 years ago, we feel so new and anxious to get our word and our message out, so we were happy to do it.
It also, I think in some ways, speaks to the whole dynamic that the Clifford Still Museum has embraced as part of your membership of the community here in collaborating and partnering with other organizations.
I think so. I mean, being a single artist museum, to be able to collaborate allows us to extend what we do and who we serve. And I think the whole idea of collections, which this show is all about, is something that the Clifford Still Museum is so indebted to, the strength of our collection. Well, we are prohibited by the will of Clifford Still to lend these works here, so we had to try to make the museum come alive without actually bringing the art. And we tried to bring some of the experience, some of the graphic panels, archival materials, letters, bits from his record collection, so hopefully visitors can get a sense of what the visit to the museum will be through these objects.
And what we're in front of is actually his work materials.
We have so many examples of his pigments and his pastels and drawing supplies that we were easily able to lend those to this exhibition.
Have you had a chance to wander around the rest of the exhibit yet?
I have. The exhibition's wonderful, the range of institutions and the quality of the works. It's a really, really great show.
Tonight, after visiting the different exhibitions, I think that is one of the best shows that the Arvada Center has produced in a long, long time. I wanted to make sure that the pieces that I selected truly were explain or speak about what museo houses in their collection.
Beyond just pre-Columbian art.
Exactly, beyond pre-Columbian art, beyond contemporary art, but the true sharing of the culture of the Americas.
Ultimately, you have something that's really quite unique that I haven't even seen at the Museo before, and that's this Shaman piece behind you. Tell me about that.
The Shaman is a 17th century piece. It is a ritual piece that is being used in the dances.
So it's not just a piece of art, it was actually in use in a ceremony.
Exactly. And to me, this was one of the pieces that called my name and says, please take me. I need to be shown. I need to be recognized. We hardly use this piece because it's made out of leather, and as you can tell, it has to be very carefully, treated and manipulated, because it's just one more push and the whole thing can collapse or whatever. And so, but this is one of the most important pieces that we have, not because the energy that produces, but also because that communication that established with the viewer that is so intense and so powerful.
And finally, we hear from some of the private collectors participating in this special exhibition. This collection even begin for you?
Well, it starts way back when I worked in a gallery in 1977. I'm an artist myself, and a lot of pieces would come into this gallery that I worked in. I just started meeting some of the older artists that worked in the Colorado Springs area.
What was it about each piece that would cause you to want to own it?
Well, a lot of it was meeting the artists themselves. Just it was part of just the whole experience of meeting them, and that's how it started. And I'm very interested in modern art, and a lot of these artists worked back in the mid part of the 20th century.
How does it feel to see some of your collection on display in such a public way?
Well, I'm excited to do it because it's a way for me to share what I've collected over the years. And, these all sit in my home. And my wife and I and a few friends occasionally get to see them. And so it's nice to be able to share them with the public in general.
So what happens to the space where they normally reside in your home while they're here?
Well, I have a lot of work in storage, so we shift things around a lot. There's never a shortage of artwork to go in the spaces. It's the wall space that's in short supply at home. So
that's true for a lot of art collectors.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What does it feel like to share your collection as part of this exhibit at the Arvada Center?
Well, you sort of lose this stuff at our house because
but here it really
in
looks
the middle of
actually
sort of
much
stuff.
better.
It looks great,
lighting.
with the lighting. It's got good lighting.
He wants to redo the lighting in the house.
You might have to install.
This might be a very expensive exhibit. I'm not sure about it.
How did you begin this collection?
I started collecting when I was a very poor student in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I had very little money, but I knew artist friends, and so sometimes I got something as a present, or I spent it on art rather than on something else.
Was it hard to select what you would lend to the Arvada Center for this exhibit?
Only difficult because you have been to our house. We have a whole lot, and we don't just collect one type of thing, as you can see. This is just a small sample. But Colin also helped, because he had been to the house before, and then I sort of selected things, and then we edited it, and here it is. Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking to us, and thank you for sharing this really lovely collection.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This portion of your collection that you have shared is quite vibrant. Some would say kind of like you. Tell me, how do you describe your collection?
Well, I love pop art, and I love color, and I love every single piece in my collection speaks to my core, my spiritual personality core. A lot of it harkens back to my childhood, well, I always loved dinosaurs, I always loved Planet of the Apes, I always loved Alice in Wonderland, I always loved space, I always loved rockets, so it's all represented there, and I was born in Arkansas, so the red razorback pig, when I saw the red pig, I'm like, oh, that's me, that red pig, so. With beads, yes. I collect Colorado artists. My whole collection is local. I honestly believe that Denver and Colorado, Denver is the best place to buy art in America. We've got fantastic artists here. Denver's always been pioneers. We're pioneers in the art field as well. And the artists are so exciting.
What does it feel like to watch these people pass through your section of this exhibit when they're looking at your personal collection that lives in your home?
I haven't really gotten a chance to hear many of the comments, so I'm expecting some people to go, oh my gosh, this is my favorite part, and I'm expecting other people to go, good Lord, this woman has no taste, because it's just, that's kind of the point. It's all subjective, so, if there's not at least one person that hates my collection, I feel like I've probably been too safe,
This special exhibit, Collect the Art of Colorado, is at the Arvada Center through March 30th.
Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.